to the very first episode of The Polished Hustle. Guys, I'm super excited to be in front of you. I am super excited to bring out this particular project as this is a podcast that is generated around understanding your passion, your purpose, and most importantly, how do you do this inside of living a polished life, seemingly. I'm Ambrielle Wilkins, and I am super happy that we are kicking this off on an incredible day such as Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day to all of the incredible ladies all across the world that is celebrating the beauty, the responsibility, and most importantly, the decoration of being a mother. And I also want to be sure that I emphasize that that doesn't necessarily just come through the rite of birth. Of course, we know that we have incredible mothers who have gone through all of the sacrificial experience of having a child. However, there are many of us, myself included, who proudly wear the title of assisting in some form of motherhood outside of actually providing birth. I have incredible nieces and nephews and have been so since the age of 10. So for me, my glimpse is a little different in terms of the influence and impact that I offer in terms of the mothering spectrum. But again, I also recognize the beauty of those who have done this the entire way through. I would also like to be sure to give the roses to not only those that we celebrate here, but also those that we remember and we reflect on, myself included, by remembering the beauty, the greatness, the contribution of my mother. For us, this day sometimes comes with a lot of mixed emotions, a lot of complexities, and a lot of things that we don't necessarily tend to understand. But the one thing that we can acknowledge and admire about this day is that it's a day of reflection, a day of happiness, and a day to understand that while she may not be here with you right now, she's forever here. So, picking up and understanding the landscape of motherhood is vastly different for all of us. Like, it's not the same narrative. And depending on who you ask and what you ask and when you ask, motherhood can be a very different experience. Again, because I don't have children, I really get the opportunity to be around so many mothers who are heavily involved in their children's upbringing, who are helicopter moms, who are a little more lackadaisical. And it also brings about the recognition of the generational differences in mothering. Um, I think for me, one of the things that I knew growing up is that the way that I was raised was also a reflection of my mother and her experience and my grandmother and my great grandmother. My landscape is a little different because I have the collection of being raised by not just my mother, but my grandmother and my great grandmother who poured so much into me. These women unselfishly sacrificed not only the realism of their time, but also they participated in something that allowed them to see a deeper scale of themselves. And one of the things that I realize now that I didn't know at the time in having my mother is that a lot of the times we don't necessarily see the picture of the reason why our parents do what they do because this moment feels very sufficient to us. But a lot of the times we don't sit back and think that this is their first time being a mama too, or it's their first time being a father. And so inside of that, we have to have the opportunity of really sitting back and recognizing that while it may not look like one thing, there are so many sacrifices that go into being a mother, so many decisions, so many hard decisions. And so having the opportunity of really understanding more of my mother's role in my life after she has transitioned has been both a blessing and it's stung quite a bit. So I also understand that when we talk about the opportunity of motherhood, it looks very different. It can be someone who is a sister, who is an auntie, who is a sister circle, who is someone that just has a general community that allows them to understand that this is someone who has gifted a mothering cloak to me. And while again, my mother is not here with me, I absolutely stand in the orb of light of women who constantly pour and contribute and letting me know that I am not without the efficiency, without the fluidity of having a strong female role model. I think now more than anything, it's really important for us to understand that the female role model is so incredibly important, whether she is a mother or not. Being around my mama and my great grandmother and my grandmama taught me so many things. It taught me how to be in a space and understand my voice. It also taught me how to compliment other women. And that's actually something, while you kind of be like, that's not that big of a deal, it is. Sometimes you don't have the recognition of how to speak and engage and connect with other women, because that isn't necessarily something that's embedded at the beginning. I also got the opportunity to learn and polish myself in such a way of creating balance, not just being so focused on what's in front of me, but also having the fortitude, the peace, the tranquility, the patience to give more light and opportunity to other experiences. These women poured unselfishly into me so that I may have the capability of doing so. And that is a gift I could never ask. I couldn't even begin to repay. Okay, guys. So, absolutely, this is an incredible day, which has been historical for me. However, let's talk about what this podcast actually is, because, yeah, right? Like, why are you here? So, the Polish Hustle is essentially a space that I really wanted to create for those of us who really go beyond the landscape of surface level thinking. Me, Ambrielle, I'm really intuitive about what I ingest and what I engage with on social media, in any kind of platform, really, because I want something that's going to constantly pour into the woman I'm becoming. It's so important to acknowledge who I've been, where I am, and understand what's my trajectory of growth. But in understanding that, it can be really hard to see a lot of the clarity for yourself when you engage with a lot of different experiences, whether it's social media, whether it's your friend circle, whether it's personal experiences that you're going through. Sometimes it's just a lot of static. And inside of that static, it's like, why am I doing this? What's going on? What's the purpose? So, the Polish Hustle really is a love letter to myself, a thing that I wish I had in terms of being able to understand some of the feelings that come along with growing. This is a non judgmental space for individuals who want something that's going to stimulate, that's going to emulate what it is that you want to do with yourself, for yourself. It's going to allow us to have realistic conversations, not only about professional development, but it's also going to allow us to have transparent conversations about who you are as a person. It's going to give emphasis, life, and depth to your purpose while understanding your passion. See, the difference in the two is your passion brings you to your purpose. And so for me, I want to have the most efficient information from someone in real time who's been on the pursuit of finding her passion or his passion. So, again, the Polish Hustle is going to invite so many different experiences, not just for y'all, but for me too. Okay, y'all, let me tell you about my mama, Tony Berry Wilkins. Honey. So, I have so many incredible, incredible memories about. I will say one of the proudest things I am happy and elated to tell people about my mother. She is the very first example I had of an entrepreneur. She is and has been that girl. So much of myself I see now through the lens of my mama. Um, Trust me, y'all, talking about this, I'm telling y'all right now, I'm trying my best to fight back tears, but y'all, when I tell you my mama was a hustler, my mama was always on it. She came to Texas um, from Meridian, Mississippi when she was like 25. And she's been a nurse since she was 18 years old. And so coming from Mississippi to Texas, was a move that her, my grandmother, and my great grandparents decided to have a different life and experience for, you know, future generations. And from the time she put foot on Texas soil, y'all, it just took off and up for her. And so she spent so much time really getting to a place and space. And I'll share one of my favorite stories with her that I actually so I was born in 90. And if you guys can remember, during that time, the AIDS epidemic was really at its height. It was a lot of fear surrounding it because of lack of knowledge behind it. And my mama, being a nurse, decided to onboard a patient that was diagnosed with AIDS. And her mission inside of this was to simply be sure that this person had a quality of life with dignity, with care, without being penalized or having some form of this condition being weaponized against them. Nobody was happy that my mama was doing this because my mama was pregnant with me at the time. So, again, because there was not so much information available and accessible at that time, it was not the most beneficial experience, seemingly from outside looking in. But my mama made this decision that no matter what, she was going to be sure that she cared for this person and made sure that they had all of the things that they need to in their final stages of life. And this relationship with my mother and and this patient blossomed, and she was there at the end of their life. And I did not learn about this story until much later when I was older, and I couldn't understand, so much behind it. But what I now know, and I was able to share with my mother in her final days, I'm not just proud of the fact that that's my mama. I'm proud of the woman that my mother is outside of being. I am proud of the woman that I got to learn, got to understand, got to glean and glean. I genuinely could not be the woman that I am without that woman putting her breath, her life, and the sacrifices that she made. So many of the sacrifices I did not understand in real time, and I absolutely understand now, and I could never thank her. So, I'm sorry, y'all. Sorry. Okay. Second, make sure my lashes ain't wet. So, in knowing all of these things that I told you guys about my mama, one of the things that she taught me is something that I carry with me on a daily basis. And it's even something that with my stylists that I've had the experience of training and connecting with them, they hear me say it all the time, but they're actually her words. My mother taught me that givers have to set boundaries because takers don't have any. And it's really important to understand because what it genuinely means is that you have to be aware of your specificities, your do's, don'ts, wills, and won'ts in order for it to mean anything to anyone else. It was a very polished way of saying, mean what you say and say what you mean to yourself. And so it's again something that travels with me, and I don't think that I could ever forget the origins of it. And it's done so much for me understanding next steps, not only for myself professionally, but personally. One of the challenges I subscribe to right now is what would my mother think of me now that we don't have the experience of being side by side? Of course, my mother, I subscribe to the faith that my mama is here with me no matter what the circumstance. But it's very different than being able to pick up a phone and gossip with her or hug her neck or talk to her. And so, in knowing that, a part of me just kind of goes back and forth with my mama not being able to see the woman that I've really worked so hard on her to meet. So, my hope is that my mother knows, number one, how much I love her, how much I respect her, how much I admire her. I hope that my mother understands that I understand the sacrifices that she made for me so that I may be able to have the experiences that I do, both good and bad. I also hope that my mother knows that I have done all of the things that I need to for myself to feel that I can move forward in a situation, knowing that I've done my best and I put all of the attention in that I need to. I hope that my mother knows that I am proud of the woman that I am, and more importantly, I'm proud of the woman I'm. To my mother and to every mother, I say thank you for your unselfish contributions. Thank you for the time, the effort, the countless days, the uncertain nights. Thank you for the time that you just genuinely take to say, I'm breathing life into someone else, even when you haven't stopped to breathe it into your own self. To my mama, thank you. I love you. And happy Heavenly Mother's Day, Mama. I miss you and I love you. I will see you guys on the next episode of The Polished Hustle. Till then, take care and happy Mother's Day, ladies.